All right, welcome to episode 7 of season 3 of JV Speaks.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
We are pretty hyped for this episode.
Oh, yeah.
This will be a battle royale.
Ooh, with cheese.
Yeah, so it's getting ready. It's heating up in here. It's going to be front of house versus back of house.
Wow, I feel like I should move a little bit on this one.
Yeah. So Vince,
How we
can
doing?
you kind of give us what is front of house versus back of house? Give us a rundown of that.
So front of house, back of house was actually, it was created last year, end of last year, and it was a reference from the show The Bear on Hulu. If you haven't watched it, great show. But it's more of a metaphor of, like, we're metaphors. It's pretty much looking at our business as a front of house team and a back of house team. So just like in a restaurant, well, look at our business with a restaurant mentality. You have people that work front of house, which is your host, your servers, right? Order takers, managers, supervisors. And then you have your back of house, which is your kitchen staff, sous chef, head chef, assistants,
Saucier.
Johnny's a saucier.
Saucier.
And it gets to the point where we're looking at, okay, how can front of house in our industry generate jobs, just like you would generate ticket orders for taking a customer's order. And so the analogy was created this year because, in my perspective, John and Tim are kind of leading the front of house of JV Studios. So when it comes to inquiries, clients, they're the ones open up the combos. I pop in every here and there, but mainly I live in the kitchen. And the kitchen is editing. It's the post world. It's production. So that, Timmy, is the front of house and back of house.
Thank you, Vince. And I think everyone has a good understanding now.
Yeah.
When we're looking at now front of house, back of house, what is it's not great. There's a front of house and back house. What is the struggle there? Like, why is there a tension? I don't want to say tension in a bad way. I'd say it's a good way, right? It pulls us both ways. So maybe Johnny, tell us a little bit about the tension or the between the two.
Yeah, I mean, it's the idea of how many people can we serve? And the more people that we serve, you're going to need more support to serve those people, right? So I think the balance is like, you get all these clients coming in, it's boom, 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 boom. And, back of the house is just feeling that pressure because now you only have one guy, two guys cooking, and but you really need a lot more, And so, there's some heat that gets turned up in the kitchen,
Oh yeah, a little boom shakalaka sometimes.
I mean, I get it, dude. You know?
Yes, there's definitely a balance, and I think that's kind of given us a lot of perspective and thoughts on when do we bring more people into the team. You guys are so bad. We're running. We're rolling.
Oh,
Get
no
ready.
cutting.
No
We're
cutting.
cutting.
It's called
We're
Easter egg. So
We're making back of house's life easier. No cuts.
no cuts, dude.
Right. Well, Vince got his word in, so nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Leaves one.
Yep. Anyways, knowing the right time to bring in new team members. Vince, I feel like you're someone that struggles sometimes trusting other creatives because you just
we're diving right in.
Yeah.
I like it.
The vision.
Well,
How is that kind of thought process materialized and evolved into where you're thinking now?
yeah, I think to this day, I love seeing the projects through. I love seeing it from the idea to execution and having my hands on it all. I think the more I'm getting tossed into this like more creative director role for JV, I need to start, delegating because I can only cook so many meals at the time at once, right? So more cooks in the kitchen, more we can get done. We can keep making sure projects are coming in.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes it can be a sense of pride of just like knowing I wanna do it all and knowing I can't do it all. And sometimes, you got a cook that's good, but maybe he burns the food, or she burns the food. So for me, it's not so much, not trusting them. It's just developing processes to educate them on our workflow. So if you are working in back of house at JV and we're doing some editing, here's the structure. Here's the way we organize all our assets. Here's all the folders we need to do. And so the ability to have this universal language so that I can have an editor jump in a project and pick up where maybe another editor had to jump off, and it's just verbatim exactly how it needs to be, not like, so it's your workflow and your workflow. It's like, no, this is the standard. And so it's hard to find that. And I think we've gotten fortunate with some editors that we've been using that allows us to delegate. But again, it's like, I've been doing it since day one, and obviously it's been working and it works to this day.
Yeah.
But there is a time and place where I need to almost step back as the head chef and watch everyone else, quote unquote, cook.
But the important thing about that head chef, which we learned yesterday out to dinner, is he's always, he inspires people to, like, hey, you got an idea, run with it, but let me taste it.
Ooh.
Let me taste it before it goes out to the client, because I know what the client wants. I know,
Yes.
And so I think that's important.
Yeah, kind of the last look at the dish before it gets out.
Oh,
So
100%.
So yeah, so I look at it like, it's a process that, some people stick and some don't. Some have the drive, in the editing world to just get so lost in that process of like shutting the door, checking in when needed. And I think a lot of it's like not having to hold someone's hand.
Right.
And I talk about that a lot with a good buddy of mine, of just like finding people that you can give them what you need, give them, an outline, let me know if you need something. But if you need me every 2 minutes, like, there's too much smoke going up in the kitchen right now.
Yeah.
So there is that fine line of balance of, I need to delegate, but I need to trust.
Yeah. I mean, on the other side of it, right, you have what's going on in the kitchen, but then you also have the client sitting down at the table going, I want this. And you go, hey, chef, you think we can do it? And it's like,
Right. What ingredients am I working with?
so yeah, there's, I guess, like, there's some, sometimes some tension, can form there if there's like a little front of house for back house.
I think a lot of it is communication, and it's having the heads of each department on these initial calls, understanding the scope,
Yeah.
not getting sidelined. And I think I think we day by day get better and better. And I don't think there's like this battle in the office anymore. But I think the early stages of figuring out the strengths and weaknesses and the respects of like, this is what Tim, this is what you're here to do. John, this is what you're here to do. And Vince. And, the more we work through it and just have open combos of like, hey, I know Tim, the client said they wanted this, but from my perspective, if we go this route, did you know we need X, Y, Z? And so it's the ability to have open convos, and that comes down to it, back to the other episode, is like, oh, maybe we failed to explain that to them, and now the back of house is having to make it work, depleted resources or tight deadline that's unrealistic.
Right.
And so dish may come out a little messy. Normally doesn't, but it can.
Yeah. Or doing everything in our power to make sure it doesn't, right? And whether that's in what it can't be, or but it sometimes is, but it's the most stressful is, all right, executive chef, guess what? You're in the kitchen now. You're going to be working the 3 shifts, right? And you're just going to get it done. And it gets done, and everyone will be happy, because that is the JV way, right? Is you will be satisfied. We will knock every project out of the park, but we need to find a way to make it sustainable. So I agree. I think the respect that we have between front of house and back of house, that we joke, right? There's the tension. It's not tension, it's respect.
Yeah,
where I can say to Vince directly, I would say, why do we need this? The client doesn't want, maybe doesn't need to, have it in their budget. And I could say, so we need to pull it out. And Vince has, I respect Vince to have that conversation with him. And he gives me his honest feedback. I'm not offended. He says, Tim, if you don't do this, then you're going to lose this, right? And so that allows me, right, of someone, again, who hasn't spent the last dozen years in video production, to be able to, internalize that and communicate it back to the client in a way that is like, hey, this is the, that's why it's nice when you say, hey, this is your budget. We can give you the maximized value, and this is what you're going to get. Like, back to the restaurant analogy, right?
Love it.
We always want to give someone a filet on our menu at our restaurant. We have the best. Yeah, thanks. Thank you. The best filet in the world, in our opinion, right? For the best filet. Sometimes a client doesn't want to pay for the filet, right? We can't give away the filet for the cost of a chicken breast, right? But maybe they want a pork chop, right? And we're gonna give you a fire pork chop.
Yeah,
It's not the filet, in our opinion, but you're gonna get the best damn pork chop that
Get
you're
a
gonna
couple
get.
sides, a little sauce,
Exactly.
little baseline leaner, make it happen.
Yeah,
like
so,
that.
Yeah,
Always got to give a baseline.
yeah,
Here's your standard.
Yeah.
And then you can always
You can
add
lean
more
you know?
sides. You
Yeah.
can lean one way.
You can lean the other.
Yeah.
As long as you're getting a slam dunk,
yeah.
Exactly.
Got to get it in.
Yeah.
So, again, I think that comes down to that internal communication that we have, right?
Listen, we just got NBA Jam in our studio, and the challenge that we were given here by the Peanut Gallery, if you want to cut the Peanut Gallery,
Hey.
was we had to incorporate a couple of buzzwords, and so
Get in there.
and Luke too there. So
Come-
get a baseline leaner.
Hey, there you go.
Nice,
Thank you, Luke. Thank you. So
It's probably the funnest episode so far.
We have digressed slightly.
Yeah,
I think the back house is getting too involved here, Johnny. So we're gonna rein it in. So
yeah.
Well,
So
I wanna rein you in.
I'm pulling the marker.
Pulling. Accepting.
Not sure what I'm going to say, but I think it is the importance of that respect.
yeah,
Of understanding that like you gotta you have to protect the creatives.
We poked his little head out over there.
You got to protect the creatives.
Yeah.
For us in the front of the house, if I'm moving over here, because I think for me, I kind of sway, right? I work a lot with Tim and I work a lot with Vince. I understand both. And so, like, the request has to be a reasonable request. So it's something that you feel good and inspired about, that you can lead a team on. And then also, like, we can't be overextending and overpromising, where then back of the house is stress, or back of the house is like being unreasonable and fighting. And it's like, listen, we just got to give this to the client. We got to get it done. That's a fun little.
I guess my devil's advocate to even back a house is like, we want front of house. We want you guys to keep booking. We want sales. We want to. So it's not so much that, the tickets are piling up and the food's getting cold. You get to that point where it's like, back of house needs people. We need to hire more people, and that's a great problem to have. Is that back house has these tickets, and now it's time to have to bring in support. To make the kitchen bigger.
But also, a back of house likes change up the menu a little bit. What do you want to do? Keep doing mac and cheese, or are you trying to switch things up, get different sauces? You got desserts, you got all these things.
Exactly.
you lost me. I don't know where we're going with that.
We're talking about dinner. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. So tonight I'm gonna make a meatloaf. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
Well,
This is a fun one. It's an Easter egg episode. If you get this far,
Listen, if you work in a restaurant or anything, we want to hear it from you. Drop below in the comments here and just let us know. Front of house versus back of house. Give us your thoughts. We want to hear it.
yes. Thank you, Johnny.
Subscribe.
Going down to talking about knowing the right time to add new team members. You obviously have to add new team members to the back of house, right? When the front of house brings in new work.
Right.
What do we do? How do we look at the front of house in developing that team and growing that team and incentivizing our business to grow, while at the same time obviously focusing on not overextending the back house?
Well, I think something we've just talked about is getting people that are specific to projects.
Mm-hmm.
And so this would be like, it would be like your GM or someone that's like, we have our front of house and then we have this like manager, right?
Mm.
Or this person that's like this liaison between front of house and back of house. And, maybe that liaison's not going directly to tables, or maybe they are. Maybe it's a server, maybe that's what that position is a server going back and saying, chef, I need some more fries.
Yeah.
And having that like,
you need a favor.
like kind of like that new relationship, that little spice. Like, all right, cool. Like, let's do it. I got your back and you got me. Like,
Yeah.
So then they go up to the front and, chef needs 5 more minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guys make it happen? Sure. Let us stall a little bit.
Right. Well, I
You
think,
know?
yeah, I mean, that brings me up to a point. Like, we've all been to a restaurant where you had to wait forever to get seated.
Oh yeah.
Immediately, you're like, if you like the spot and it's good, you're like, oh, we'll wait. But if like it's your first time there, you're kind of like, this place, what's going on?
Yeah.
And the other side of it is that you wait forever to get your food, right? And I think the best restaurants and even businesses have
Those
that
buffers.
those ebb and flows of like, it's like, I look at a mason jar out here in St. Joseph.
Yeah.
You walk any time of day, you walk in, they're mobbed. And they have this little kitchen, and they're mobbed. But it's like they have a flow that your food comes pretty quick. Servers kind of give you that perfect pause, probably to help the kitchen out. And it's the communication. I think at the end of the day, it's communicating. Hey Tim, hey Johnny, we're caught up. We need some more work. Or hey Tim, hey Johnny, can you guys buy us, a week or two? Or this is kind of where we're at. We do need more time to deliver this video, because at the end of the day, we don't want to send out an unpolished video or some type of project. So I think the way we kind of balance it is by setting realistic expectations from the start with the client, getting all of us involved. If it is like a fully executed, like shoot, produce, edit, and then we all we're just on the same page. Mm-hmm. So I think we work best when we are communicating.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I'm sitting there in my head thinking about the times I've been at a restaurant, and there's been moments where, you sit down, they're like, all right, cool. Yeah, sit down. They'll be right with you. And you're just sitting there and you're waiting and you're looking around. Everyone's getting served. Mm-hmm. Everyone's getting served. But then sometimes, and you're not getting any attention, right? The chef ain't going to come give you the attention. The owner, if there's no one there, they'll come and they'll give you the attention, or whoever sat you. But really, it's up for that person to come and say, and to just buy a little time. Like, hey, really appreciate your patience. We're a little backed up today. Here's some bread. I'll be right back. And setting those expectations. I think my best experience is when I'm just give me the information so that I feel taken care of as the client.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Kind of want to pivot, into from talking about front of house to back of house, and how that correlates to, the feast and famine that I think is so prevalent in the industry, right? You have jobs that come in, front of house gets it. A lot of times the people that are, front of house are also working in the back of house.
I mean,
so I feel like was the last, a lot of the last 12 years, probably until the last 3 or 4 years, you were front of house and then back house support.
Right.
So, kind of walk through, I mean, maybe we've talked about this a little bit in the past, but walk through that feast or famine kind of experience,
right?
What it used to be like, and kind of what our goals are now and how we're striving to get there.
Well, yeah, back in the day, you're sitting there and you're taking orders, how you doing? JV Stews, how can I help you? Writing down JV Stews, how can I help you? Okay, hang on 1 second. I'm getting backed up over here. Okay, we got to be on set. All right, I got to put this phone down. Mm-hmm. Phone's ringing. No one's answering it. Now I'm on set. We're doing our thing. We get back. Damn, I missed the calls.
Lost a job.
No one's calling. Why? Yeah, you got pulled. So now you have those people that are sitting there, these customers. I want this. I want this. I want this. No bandwidth to seat you. Sorry. Mm-hmm. Now we've switched it. So we always have dedication up at the front so that we can say, awesome, we're going to take care of you. Take a seat. Here's a menu. XYZ. They're taken care of. Here's a little appetizer.
Well, the worst is when you go to a restaurant and it's packed, but you see available tables, and you're like, "Why can I?"
Yes.
There's five tables available. Yes. Why can I be seated? And you're like, "Something's up. Something's backed up."
Yeah, that's happened. That happens.
And then you're obviously respectfully, you're like, "Oh, well, those tables look open. It's only me. Two of us." So.
Yeah, and it's just lack of support at that point. And I think it's having the right people in the right places, doing the right jobs, which is going to make the wheels on the bus go round and round.
Yeah,
nice.
Love that one.
Yeah. Talking about, in order to avoid that feast and famine, we have to have, a constant attention to new business. So we'll talk about the front of house with a second. But back house creative, Vince, talk a little bit about the struggles and, how you just have to prioritize time for new business, even when you're knee deep in creative projects, right? Because you understand that the next one isn't going to come if you don't give it the care a couple months in advance.
Yeah, well, I think the best restaurants are known because of the executive chef, right? How is that feeling when you're eating dinner? The chef's super busy, but he still makes time to come to the front of house and greet his guests. So, for me, it feels relevant to being on the initial call. It does take me away from quote unquote cooking, editing, getting lost in it. But there's that special touch. So the more I do it, it feels like, people do want to hear from the back of house in those initial calls, because the back of house is one that's making the end product.
I mean, and example yesterday,
Right.
Like how cool is that? That
Yeah.
like he stopped what he was doing. Executive chef came up. Hey guys, how's any just like time didn't exist. Was talking to us about his story out in Spain about like, and it's like, all right, cool. You guys enjoy your dinner. And that's it. Like, so like it took him maybe 5 minutes out of his day, but how much impact that we're talking about it on a podcast.
Yeah. Made food taste better. Made the experience feel personable.
Yeah. You know where it came from. Like,
Yeah, right.
It came from his hands.
Yeah.
Right.
Like he made that.
Yep.
And I think that's so critical for the front of house to have the support of the back of house and that respect, right? So, Vince, you may say, I have edits upon edits that I have to be working on today. But when we say, hey, you need to be on this meeting because you need to discuss this client, the vision, you need to have a meeting and understand what the creative process is going to be.
Yeah.
You always take time to make that call. So we appreciate you, even though when you're a busy man. So
And,
likewise.
and on the reciprocal, if you're on that back end and you're like, guys, I need you guys to go to bat for me. Like you could lean on us.
Definitely.
A little baseline leaner.
JP, yeah, I need hands. I need hands. Run this food out.
Yeah,
I
let's
need
go.
you sending stuff. I need you getting feedback. I need you gathering assets from an editor because I'm pulled somewhere else. But yeah, I think it's a healthy balance, and I think it's fun. You know, obviously we love the analogy. I think it's very relevant though in any business.
Yeah.
You got people. I mean, our business alone is constantly behind the scenes. We make we make brands, we make other people we put them in the spotlight. But it's good to be reflective on, giving credit where it's due. And we are all in a way back of house for our clients because we make our clients look good.
I mean,
Right?
for sure.
We, we make them say, we represent them. So I think it goes even a step further.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I know you want to jump to the front of the house.
yeah, I mean, I think we're talking about kind of moving the marker a little bit now too, which is nice. And I know we've touched base on that, but that's always a really good thing for always us to refocus on, right? Is, hey, the front of house is not successful without the back of house, and the back of house is not successful without the front of house. And I have no ability to help Vince out at all, right? It's just with the creative side of it.
Yeah.
And that's where, Johnny is such a key part, J&JV Studios, right?
Heard it here first.
Yeah. Moving the marker and give that back house that support.
Yeah.
Which where I feel like, great, I can still, there's always a focus on front of house. There's always a focus and support on back of house.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's, Johnny's going to help Vince out tenfold because you say, I can manage 2 or 3 people. Vince can manage 2 or 3 people. We can quadruple our capacity pretty quickly.
Right.
Just based on, our processes and our network of creatives that we have. So
Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool. We love moving the marker. So
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah, for me, I've always been a middle child. Yeah, that ain't changing.
Yeah.
And even here, sitting in between you guys, like how naturally,
middle.
how it folds. But like, yeah, Tim, when obviously you're leaning, you are all front of house,
Right.
And so when me and you get proposals, I'm jumping over on your side and we're going and I'm supporting you and supporting you. And then when Vince, needs me, then you're kind of also, as we move, you're moving towards this way too, where you're like, all right, well, let me reach out to this client about this because I'm helping Vince get processes going and, and so I think eventually it's like that pendulum that's it keeps swinging back and forth and eventually it's going to find its place because I'll wind up just staying in the middle and just adding more markers to extend to each side. I think is like the goal.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That being said, I kind of think that wraps up our summary, front of house, back of house.
A lot of fun.
Just be ready. Season 4, JV Steakhouse will be opening. So please come to our grand opening and get some of the best filet mignon in the area.
JV Chop House.
JV Chop House. Thank you. So,
All right. We'll see you on the next one.
yes.